So, today we're diving into one of those moments where a single meeting could change everything. We're talking about the US, Israel, and Iran. And believe me, the language they're using right now, both in their words and with their military, is incredibly specific. So, what's really going on behind the scenes? Let's break it all down.
And this is the central question, isn't it? Every single statement, every flight plan is being picked apart for clues. Are we watching a real effort to de-escalate, or is this just the final posturing before a conflict kicks off? To get to the bottom of that, you have to look at who's actually in the room.
Okay, so let's start with the main event itself, this really high-level summit between the US and Israel. You gotta understand this relationship because it's the key to decoding everything else that's happening.
You know, despite all the noise you're hearing from around the globe, the engine driving this entire situation is this one-on-one summit. It's a direct conversation, and pretty much every other country involved is just reacting to what comes out of this core dialogue. But of course, this conversation isn't happening in a bubble. Not at all. There's a whole network of other nations that have a massive stake in what happens here, and they are all involved in their own ways. And this network, it's actually fascinating when you look at it. You've got Oman playing this critical role as the go-between, setting up a back channel so the US and Iran can communicate without actually talking face-to-face. Then you have the European powers who are being kept in the loop mostly because they're desperate to avoid this thing spiraling out of control. And of course, the Gulf states are watching everything with bated breath, worried about everything from their shipping lanes to the price of oil. One move here really does affect everybody else. Okay, so we know who's involved. Now let's talk about what they're saying publicly. Because in diplomacy this sensitive, public statements aren't just talk. They are carefully crafted signals, and we need to decode them.
And right away, you see this subtle but really critical difference in their messaging. The US is kind of trying to have it both ways. They're talking about deterrence and diplomacy. They want to project strength, for sure, but they're also leaving the door open for talks. Israel's message, it's much, much sharper. It's focused almost completely on their red lines and their military readiness. It's a very clear signal that, hey, our patience is running out.
Now this phrase right here, freedom of action, this is the absolute key to understanding Israel's entire position. It's basically a public declaration that says, look, we want to coordinate with our allies, but at the end of the day, we will act alone if we have to. And that message isn't just for Tehran, it's for Washington too.
And just as you'd expect, the rest of the world is reacting to these signals. Europe is basically pleading for restraint, trying to pull everyone back from the edge. The Gulf states, well, their main concern is stability, especially for their energy markets. And Russia? Well, Russia is using this as a perfect opportunity to criticize US influence in the region. No surprise there.
So, that's all the talk. But are their actions matching their words? To figure that out, we have to shift gears and look at the physical evidence. What's actually going on up in the sky? But before we analyze what we're seeing, we need to understand this concept called deterrence norms. The best way to think about it is like a police car that's always patrolling your neighborhood. Its presence is a constant signal of readiness, right? But it doesn't mean a crime is happening right now. You need to know what that baseline looks like to spot when something is actually out of the ordinary.
So what is the hard evidence telling us? Well, we've got an Israeli government plane spotted near the US East Coast, which pretty much confirms these high-level talks are for real. But, and this is the important part, the key things you'd look for if a strike was coming, like a big surge in US bombers or a huge spike in air-to-air refueling, they're just not there. The activity is right in line with those normal deterrence levels. Put it all together, and this looks a lot more like the footprint of intense diplomacy, not imminent war.
So, we've looked at the diplomatic web, we've decoded the public signals, and we've analyzed the physical movements. So what does it all add up to? Let's get to the bottom line.
Everything we can see right now points to one conclusion. This is a period of intense, high-stakes strategic signaling. Diplomacy and deterrence are happening in parallel. It is an incredibly tense posture, for sure, but based on the evidence we have, it is not active prep for an immediate military attack.
And this is exactly why the next 48 to 72 hours are absolutely critical. The outcome of these talks is going to send shock waves through the markets. I mean, any hint that things are escalating and you could see oil prices spike, defense stocks will be watched like a hawk. So this isn't some abstract political chess match. It has very real, very direct economic consequences.
And all of this leaves us with one final, crucial question. In a situation this tense, with so many players and so much on the line, how thin is the line between a carefully crafted signal and an accidental spark that just ignites a massive conflict? It's a pretty sobering reminder of just how fragile this whole diplomatic dance really is.